What's going on, YouTube? Listen up, young elder gang. This is Chief Blackball back at you with another banger. Please make sure you like, subscribe, and share this video, fam. I hope this video get at least 100,000 likes. In this video, you will find history, definitions, scripture, information, and, best of all, what we Americans have been deprived of from the beginning, the truth. Keep in mind this content used in this video is intended for entertainment, educational, and informational purposes only. We will give you the total truth, as we best understand it today. Be sure to hit that like button, young elder gang. Hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel. Hit that bell and don't forget to check back with us every day for new content. I'm sure you've heard the news, but have you ever delved into the origins of the infamous Baphomet? Buckle up for a journey into the ancient past. To understand Baphomet, we must first meet Adad, the beloved storm deity and son of Enlil, who was a high-ranking Anunnaki. Adad became known as Baal, or Lord, a title later associated with the demon Beelzebub. Baal's influence spread across ancient cultures and texts, even appearing in the Bible. When Baal fell from grace, he was cast into the underworld, transforming into the dark figure known as Baphomet. Depicted with a goat's head and a human body, Baphomet symbolizes duality and hidden knowledge. The torch between its horns represents enlightenment, while its goat nature signifies independence and defiance. This chilling symbol has captivated occult enthusiasts for centuries, hiding layers of ancient dark history within its enigmatic form. Ready to unveil more secrets? In order for you to understand the Baphomet, we must take you back. It all starts with a being named Adad or Hadad, which means beloved, who is the son of Enlil. Enlil loved his son Adad. Enlil is the son of the Most High God Anu of the Anunnaki. Adad was also the grandson of Halal and the great-grandson of Shakar, Tarnush. Adad became known as Baal, and his sons became known as Baalim or Balaam. He was called Teshub by the Greeks, meaning storm deity. Baal was a title and honorific meaning master, owner, or lord. It was the same as saying Yahweh or Adonai, because Baal, Adad became a Yahweh, or should I say a way. The term Baal is used in various ways in the Old Testament, with the usual meaning of master or owner, like we said. It came to sometimes mean the local pagan god of a particular people, and at the same time all of the idols of the land. The name is drawn from the Canaanite deity Baal, mentioned in the Hebrew Bible as the primary god of the Phoenicians. He was called Baal Berith, Lord of the Covenant. Adad was tall and wore a white robe with a turban fez on, the god of storm, fertility, and wealth. This is because the Anunnaki had technology which surpassed the humans' comprehension, which we will get into later. When Adad became one of the fallen, one of his names became Beelzebub the demon. In Jude chapter 1 verses 11 it said, "Woe unto them, for they have gone in the way of Cain and ran greedily after the error of Balaam for reward and perished in the gainsaying of Kor." Baal, Adad, was the god Elohim or Anunnaki, using crop-dusting equipment and biology warfare under orders of his father Enlil against the Israelites, Enki's people. Later, Enlil turned on him and cast him into the underworld. If you ask a so-called Illuminati member who is God, some of them say Baal is God. Adad, who became known as Baal, became known as Lord of the Covenant. A covenant is a type of contract. A covenant is a formal agreement between two or more parties to do or not do something. Covenants are often included in contracts or deeds. Covenants are legally binding agreements. Covenants are unconditional promises. If a party fails to fulfill their covenant, the other party can sue for breach of contract. Covenants can be affirmative, meaning the party promises to do something, or negative, meaning the party promises not to do something. Covenants are often used in real property contracts to protect the rights of property owners. Covenants are also used in financial contracts, such as loans and bonds. What was the covenant or contract that Baal made? It was the herding of 144,000 children or virgins. This is not to be mistaken with the 144,000 children who are taken to the Crystal City and taught by the Lamb for 1,000 years. Herding humans is the act of bringing individual humans together into a group, herd, maintaining the group and moving the group from place to place or any combination of those. These humans become known as the chosen people. Adad, who is Baal, made a deal with his great-uncle Alalu, who is Anu's brother, to herd 144,000 sans people children for the draconian reptilians. The reptilian wanted the children for their adrenochrome. Adrenochrome is a chemical compound produced when the hormone adrenaline, epinephrine, oxidizes. It is a reddish-brown pigment. Adrenochrome is formed naturally in small amounts when adrenaline breaks down. It is also produced in response to stress, fear, or excitement. In the body, adrenochrome is quickly metabolized and does not have any known biological functions. It is a drug that can be extracted from the blood of humans or animals, and that it has hallucinogenic or intoxicating effects. Others claim that it is used in satanic rituals or by secret societies to control people. Adrenochrome has anti-aging properties and can improve cognitive function. Baal was to deliver on this deal every 1,000 Earth years. Since then, the numbers have increased. Just in the United States only, over 800,000 children are reported missing each year. However, an estimated 500,000 more children go missing without being reported. For this plan to work, Baal needed a secret order, a priesthood. So, he set up the Baphomet. He taught a group of humans some secrets of the Anunnaki. He taught them how to manipulate and control the Lulus, humans. He created levels. The members of his order became the masters and their subjects, who they were made to herd became the slaves. Baal is the start of the dirty Moors. Baal taught them birth control and selective breeding. Selective breeding, also known as artificial selection, is a process that involves breeding to develop specific traits. It's a classic technique that can be used to increase the efficiency of biology life forms. Baal also used the moon base on the dark side of Lunar to smuggle the children off to the reptilians. Adad and his brother Nanarsin had dark operations going on there. Eventually, Baal, Adad got caught by the Galactic Council. Adad was left to take the fall for the whole operation. Even his own brother Nanarsin sold him out. After Baal was casted to the underworld, which was hell to some, the fourth dimension limbo. The Anunnaki who follow him were casted down with him. His human priesthood continue his mission. They continue the herding of the children, which is still going on around the world. Baal became known as Baphomet. He became a demon lord who ruled a layer of the abyss called the Endless Maze. He became the Prince of Beasts, an embodiment of savagery and an insidious force that wormed its way into the heart of his followers to deceive them into embracing brutality. He became a disagreeable Satan, demon, devil, and a Luciferian. He became a Lucifer, which means the enlightened one or the destroyer of the circle cipher. Humans began to worship Baal. Baphomet had a multitude of minotaur and humanoid followers and minions. They would sacrifice children to him. Child sacrifice is the ritualistic killing of children in order to please or appease a deity, supernatural beings, or sacred social order, tribal group, or national loyalties, in order to achieve a desired result. As such, it is a form of human sacrifice. Child sacrifice is thought to be an extreme extension of the idea that the more important the object of sacrifice, the more devout the person rendering it. They built temples for Adad Baal in their cities. Baal could appear from the fourth dimension to them using blood magic, sigils, and secret chants. Blood magic refers to a form of magic that harnesses the power of blood, often through rituals or spells that involve drawing or shedding blood, to fuel magical abilities, typically considered a dark or dangerous practice due to its association with sacrifice and potential for abuse of power. It's often depicted in so-called fiction as a potent but taboo magic system. Blood is seen as a carrier of life force, making it a potent source of energy for magical manipulation. Many blood magic practices involve the shedding of blood, either from oneself or another being, as a form of offering or sacrifice to enhance the spell's power. Due to the violent nature of bloodletting, blood magic is often associated with dark forces, evil intentions, and forbidden practices in fictional narratives. In the Bible, 1 John 5:8 states, "And there are three that bear witness in earth, the spirit and the water and the blood, and these three agree in one." A sigil is a symbol or sign used in magic to represent a desired outcome. It can be a word, object, or picture. These head followers became known as the false prophets of Baal. He would appear to them and tell them how to become wealthy and things that would come to pass in the world to keep his agenda going. A lot of the celebrities joined the Baphomet not knowing the true history. Baal, Adad, who is Baphomet, offer people great fame and recognition in exchange for their body or loyalty, essentially implying that achieving significant fame comes with a significant cost, often involving sacrificing one's morals or well-being to achieve it. It's a metaphor for the potentially destructive pursuit of fame at any price. This Baal worship became a religion called Baphomet. As we go on, keep in mind, Yaqub was a worshipper of Baal. Yaqub's followers were the Jacobites, and they were goat herders in ancient Egypt. They were called the Hyksos people. The Hyksos were a group of dark-skinned nomadic people who ruled parts of Egypt from around 1638–1530 BCE. They were a foreign dynasty from the Near East who settled in the Nile Delta. The Hyksos were known for their military strength, farming skills, and use of bronze tools and weapons. They brought with them melanin-recessive albino servants who they bred themselves, who later became known as the Flugelrods and Canaanites. They became their front men and straw man, their fall guys. Melanin is considered a recessive trait when referring to the genetic condition albinism, meaning that a person needs to inherit 2 copies of the recessive gene, one from each parent, to exhibit a lack of melanin, resulting in pale skin, hair, and eyes characteristic of albinism. In simpler terms, normal melanin production is usually dominant over the recessive trait of not producing melanin. The Hyksos originated in the Levant region of the Mediterranean. Hear it, the Levant region, as in Leviathan priesthood. The Hyksos are Enlil seed coming down through Adad, who is Baal. The Hyksos brought Baal worship into Egypt. When Adad, Baal, became a fallen angel, he later gains 2 zoo types, one of a ram or goat's head and one of a fly. Baphomet is often depicted as a horned, goat-headed, winged hermaphrodite figure with the body of a human with the feet of a goat. It has 2 fingers raised up at a white crescent moon with an upside-down pentagram on his forehead. It has 2 fingers pointing down at a black crescent moon, with the breast of a woman represent fertility. It has a torch in the middle of the horns coming out of his head. The goat head represent independent. Goats are independent animals. They are known for being curious, intelligent, and strong-willed. Goats are also known for being able to climb, run, and crawl. Goats are content to go their own way, and they don't follow others for the sake of it. They can be difficult to herd, and they may face off against strangers, wild dogs, and wolves. Goats are naturally inquisitive, and they may investigate new things by sniffing and nibbling. Goats are quick learners, and they can learn good and bad habits. Goats can be ornery and defiant, and they may not listen to their owners. Goats can wander by themselves, and they are low maintenance. They can eat almost anything, and they rarely get sick. In ancient Native African and American cultures, goats were associated with strength, prosperity, creativity, fertility, health, sexuality, and virility. In the Masonic order, new members are hazed with ritualistic process of feeding the goats and ride the goats. Riding the goat in Masonic, symbolically representing a test or ordeal during their entry into the fraternity. This is not a real practice in Freemasonry, but the phrase has become a slang term associated with the initiation process due to its historical connection with imagery of the devil, often depicted as a goat. While the phrase riding the goat is commonly associated with Freemasonry, there is no actual ritual within a Masonic lodge where a candidate would literally ride a goat. The idea of the goat ritual comes from the storyline of the Jacobites, or Hyksos, getting ran up out of Egypt, Kemet. A lot of people called themselves the GOAT. The GOAT is an acronym that stands for Greatest of All Time. It's pronounced like the word goat. The term is often used to describe someone or something that's exceptional or outstanding. This is also connected with Baphomet. In the Bible, a goat sent into the wilderness after the Jewish chief priest had symbolically laid the sins of the people upon it. LaVey 16. Another one of Baal Adad names is Azazel. Azazel is a demon or evil spirit who receives a scapegoat carrying the sins of the Jewish people. In the book of Enoch, Azazel is described as a fallen angel who introduced humans to forbidden knowledge. In the Bible, a scapegoat is one of a pair of kid goats that is released into the wilderness, taking with it all sins and impurities, while the other is sacrificed. The concept first appears in the book of Leviticus, in which a goat is designated to be cast into the desert to carry away the sins of the community. The word scapegoat is an English translation of the Hebrew Azazel, Hebrew Zazel, which occurs in Leviticus, chapter 16, verses 7, "And he shall take the 2 goats and present them before the Lord at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation." 8. "And Aaron shall cast lots upon the 2 goats, 1 lot for the Lord, and the other lot for the scapegoat." 9. "And Aaron shall bring the goat upon which the Lord's lot fell and offer him for a sin offering." 10. "But the goat on which the lot fell to be the scapegoat shall be presented alive before the Lord, to make an atonement with him, and to let him go for a scapegoat into the wilderness." 11. "And Aaron shall bring the bullock of the sin offering, which is for himself, and shall make an atonement for himself and for his house, and shall kill the bullock of the sin offering, which is for himself. Leviticus chapter 16, verses 21. And Aaron shall lay both his hands upon the head of the live goat, and confess over him all the iniquities of the children of Israel, and all their transgressions and all their sins, putting them upon the head of the goat, and shall send him away by the hand of a fit man into the wilderness. 22. And the goat shall bear upon him all their iniquities unto a land not inhabited, and he shall let go the goat in the wilderness. A scapegoat is a person who is blamed for the wrongdoings, mistakes, or faults of others, especially for reasons of expediency. A scapegoat works by allowing someone to direct their anger, frustration, or blame onto a single individual or group, essentially making them the target for all the problems, thus allowing the blamer to avoid taking responsibility for their own actions or issues, effectively scapegoating them. This can happen in social situations, families, or even on a larger societal level, where a specific group is unfairly blamed for wider problems. The scapegoat is usually blamed for things they didn't do or have little control over. Scapegoating can act as a way to relieve personal discomfort by projecting blame onto someone else. Often the scapegoat is perceived as weaker or less powerful than the person doing the blaming. By focusing on the scapegoat, the real issues or underlying problems, a child in a family is constantly blamed for problems even when they aren't at fault, while the parents avoid addressing their own issues. A coworker is unfairly targeted for mistakes made by others, taking the brunt of criticism while the real culprits go unnoticed. A minority group is blamed for societal problems, creating prejudice and discrimination against them. A scapegoat is the fall guy. A fall guy is a person who is falsely blamed for something that went wrong, essentially taking the blame for someone else's actions, often when they are innocent. Essentially, a scapegoat. Someone who is deliberately set up to take the blame for a mistake or crime committed by another party. Example: the manager used the new employee as a fall guy for the project's failure, even though he wasn't responsible. It's the devil's oldest trick in his book. The lower half of the Baphomet pants is the face of a sheep, representing the lost sheep. Sheep are followers, those who could be led astray. Sheep are not like goats. Sheep need a shepherd because they are not very intelligent animals and can easily get lost, wander into dangerous situations, or become vulnerable to predators. A shepherd guides them to safe pastures, protects them from threats, and ensures their overall well-being by providing food, water, and medical attention when needed. Sheep tend to follow the group, which can lead them astray, if not guided by a shepherd. Without protection, sheep are easily preyed upon by wolves or other wild animals. Sheep may not be able to find suitable grazing areas or water sources on their own. A shepherd can identify and treat sick or injured sheep. Sheep rely heavily on their shepherd for safety and security, forming a strong bond of trust. This is why the King James Version of the Bible, Psalm chapter 23, said, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want." The parable of the lost sheep appears in the Bible in both Matthew 18:10, 14, and Luke 15:4, 7. Matthew 18:10, 14, Jesus tells the parable of the lost sheep to show that the kingdom of God is open to everyone. Luke 15:4, 7. The parable tells the story of a man who has 100 sheep and loses one. The shepherd leaves the 99 other sheep to search for the lost one. The shepherd rejoices more when he finds the lost sheep than the 99 that didn't go astray. The shepherd carries the lost sheep home on his shoulders. The shepherd calls his friends and neighbors to celebrate. The parable illustrates that God rejoices when a sinner returns to him. Matthew 15:24. But he answered and said, I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Some people have chosen to follow the ways of Baal like Cain. The wings represent that he, Baal-Hadad, was once an angel or Elohim who fell from grace. Baal-Hadad became one of the 200 fallen and one of the 72 princes of hell. The horns represent the nature of the beast. The torch, the flame of intelligence, shining between Baphomet's horns represents a symbol of enlightenment, hope, the pursuit of knowledge, and the higher light of gnosis. It also can have different meanings depending on its orientation. It also symbolizes the magic light of universal balance and the soul's elevation above matter. It represents the crown chakra. In Illuminati symbolism, a torch typically represents enlightenment, knowledge, and the pursuit of truth. It signifies the idea of spreading knowledge and illuminating the path towards understanding, often associated with the concept of bringing light to the darkness. The flame of the torch is often seen as a metaphor for the power of reason and critical thinking to dispel ignorance. Similar to the Statue of Liberty, the torch can also symbolize the pursuit of liberty and liberation from oppressive forces. Some of the Illuminati worship Baal Adad, who is Enlil's son. He is their master or god. Like we said, Baal is the grandson of Halal and great-grandson of Tarnish. Baphomet depicted with two fingers raised, Baphomet is usually signifying the concept of as above, so below, which represents the balance and harmony between the spiritual and material realms, often interpreted as a symbol of duality within the occult tradition, with one finger pointing upwards towards the heavens and the other downwards to the earth, signifying the connection between the two spheres. The two fingers represent the opposing forces of good and evil, male and female, light and dark, which are seen as complementary and in balance within the universe. The white moon is above, light, yin and good, and the black moon as darkness, evil, bad and yang. Yin and yang is a Chinese philosophical concept that describes two opposing but complementary forces that interact to create balance and harmony. The symbol for yin and yang is often depicted as a circle with a dark swirl on one side and a light swirl on the other. The dark, feminine, cold, passive force. Yin is associated with earth, rain, softness, evil, black, small, and even numbers. The balance of yin and yang is essential for health, harmony, and order in the universe, society, and individuals. Yin and yang are interdependent, meaning they create wholeness and are both necessary for the other to exist. Yin and yang are in a dynamic cycle of action and reflection, where each phase informs and feeds into the other. The concept of yin and yang has influenced many aspects of Chinese thought, including art, medicine, astrology, divination, and government. This is why in most of their temples and lodges, they have black and white floors, are worshippers of Baal. It is also connected with the zodiac sign Pisces, which is two fish. This is the age that the Baphomet Priesthood started in. The crescent moon is a symbol of his grandfather Halal. Halal meaning the crescent. A symbol of Diana, who was also called Sin. Symbol of Baphomet, from French Mahomet for Mohammedan. The five-pointed interlocking inverted star. Diana is also called Inanna, Aset, and Isis. She is Baal's niece, daughter of Nanar Sin. One of Baal's signs is the pentagram, five-pointed star, the sign of the cloven hoof. The inverted pentagram on his forehead is a five-pointed star, with its odd point facing down, representing the physical world's triumph over the spiritual, matter ruling over spirit, which is sometimes associated with evil. Inverted pentagrams can represent the second degree in Wicca, which is when a person must face their dark side. The mark of the beast on the cover of Baal's forehead is the original mark given to Cain and his descendants. Even with the moon at its feet or back or side or head, the goat of Mendes set with 2 points up. The worship of Shetun being called tetragrammaton with continuously interlocking lines. One name of the beast is Leviathan, meaning Levi equaling law, Athon equaling sin, simply the laws of sin, also called the spell of Kingu, or the serpentine, a beast of imperfection. Baal grandfather Halal, who is also known as Zara, Samael, and Nakash or Kanas, is the reptilian son of the reptilian, Shakar or Tarnush, an immigrant from Maldek, which is also called Vulcan. Tarnush was originally from Maldek, but he came to Tiamat by way of the sixth-star or sun constellation of Orion. He was also called Azazel, the scapegoat, Iblis, the rebellious one, and he was called Tarnush and Shetun, slanderers or false accusers. The English Bible is the manifestation of Leviathan, six ether and ghost. Leviathan, six ether fire produces ghost and goat-like hair, dog hair, jackal-like hair. Leviathan is called Jesus, Baal and Lord, and ghost is called God and Christ. The manifestation of the false Jesus, six ether, started with evolution 17,250,000 years ago. The manifestation of Krishna, the Hindu deity or ghost called Christ, started with Kadmon and Nekabah through Cain, approximately 42,000 years ago. Therefore, God, ghost, is a part of the one supreme being and not of the supreme or almighty himself. When seen with the spiritual eye, ghost looks like haze or fog. You will also notice the Kundalini symbol in Baal's lap. Baal Adad was a student of his first cousin Tahuti, son of Enki. The Sanskrit term Kundali Shakti translates as serpent power. Kundalini is thought to be an energy released within an individual using specific meditation techniques. It is represented symbolically as a serpent coiled at the base of the spine. Snakes has been revered and feared for millennia as a powerful representation of life force or universal energy. Historic and modern-day symbolism of Kundalini energy shows a coiled serpent resting at the base of the human spine. The Kundalini symbol, often depicted as a coiled serpent at the base of the spine, represents a powerful dormant spiritual energy within the body that can be awakened through meditation and yoga practices, signifying the potential for spiritual transformation and enlightenment when this energy is channeled upwards through the body's chakras. The word Kundalini itself translates to coiled serpent in Sanskrit. The coiled serpent symbolizes the dormant energy at the base of the spine, often associated with the root chakra, Muladhara, which is why it sits at his lower root chakra. This is dealing with awakening and ascension. When awakened, this energy is believed to rise through the spinal column, activating the various chakras along the way, leading to a heightened state of consciousness. The Kundalini deals with the divine feminine energy, which is why Baphomet has breasts. In many traditions, Kundalini is linked to the divine feminine power, Shakti. As Kundalini awakens, it moves upwards through the spinal column, passing through each chakra, activating them in a specific order. When Kundalini reaches a chakra, it is believed to bring about a heightened awareness and potential related to that chakra's function. It represents spiritual transformation. The ultimate goal of Kundalini awakening is to reach the crown chakra, Sahasrara, signifying a profound spiritual transformation and union with the divine. The crown chakra is where the torch comes in at, the illuminated ones. The Kundalini is also used for the symbol for medicine called the caduceus. The caduceus is a staff with two snakes wrapped around it and is often depicted with wings. It is the staff of Tahuti, Enki's son. The caduceus is also a symbol of peace, commerce, and eloquence. Tahuti was called Hermes by the Greeks. The vertebral column, or spine, is made up of 33 vertebrae in the average adult human. These vertebrae are bones that connect to each other at flexible joints called facets. The 33rd degree is an honorary degree in Freemasonry that recognizes members who have demonstrated exceptional service and dedication. It's awarded by the Supreme Council of the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry. If you look at the statue of Baal or Baphomet, you will see children looking up at him. This is all connected with the Greek god Pan, Peter Pan, and the missing children. Baal Adad, deal for the herding of 144,000 children to the reptilians for a food source. The five-pointed star also goes alone with those who become a part of the Baphomet, who get a star in Hollywood. The Hollywood Walk of Fame is a landmark which consists of 2,800 five-pointed terrazzo and brass stars embedded in the sidewalks along 15 blocks of Hollywood Boulevard and 3 blocks of Vine Street in the Hollywood district of Los Angeles. The stars, the first of which were permanently installed in 1960, are monuments to achievement in the entertainment industry, bearing the names of a mix of actors, musicians, producers, directors, theatrical musical groups, fictional characters, and others. Celebrities are sometimes called stars because of the parallel between their fame and the luminosity of stars in the night sky. This association can make celebrities seem larger than life and more enchanting. Stars have long been associated with fame and stardom, both literally and metaphorically. Celebrity status is often associated with favorable public image, and celebrities are often the subject of media attention. Celebrity and cultural dynamics. Celebrities can reflect the cultural, technological, and social dynamics of their time. The word celebrity comes from the Latin word celebritatem, which means famous. On the American flag, each white star on a blue background represents one of the 50 states in the United States. New stars are added to the flag on July 4th after a new state joins the Union, hence the rule of the Baphomet. Baal promise of fame refers to the temptation he offers individuals, promising them great recognition and public acclaim in exchange for their loyalty or service, essentially a deal with the devil, where fame is used as a powerful lure to entice people to give up their morals or body. Fame represents the desire for recognition, admiration, and power that many humans crave, making it a potent tool for Lucifer, Baal, to manipulate people. In most narratives, accepting Lucifer's offer of fame comes with a significant price, often involving the loss of one's soul or being bound to serve evil forces. Matthew chapter 4, verse 4. The story of Jesus being tempted by Satan in the desert includes an offer of all the kingdoms of the world, which is often interpreted as a representation of this promise of power and fame. The Bible mentions Baal worship in 1 Kings, 2 Kings, Numbers, Judges, and other books. 1 Kings 16:31-33. Ahab built an altar for Baal in Samaria and married Jezebel, the daughter of the Sidonian king. 2 Kings 10:18-25. Jehu called for all of Baal's worshippers to come to him and then destroyed them. Numbers 25:3, 5, 18. The Israelites worshipped Baal Peor, the god of the Moabites or Moors. Judges 2:13, people abandoned the Lord to serve Baal and the Ashtoreths. 1 Kings 18:20-40, Elijah the prophet confronted the prophets of Baal, and the Lord's fire consumed the burnt offering. Baal was an ancient Canaanite Phoenician deity who was also known as Hadad. Romans 11:4. And what was God's answer to him? I have reserved for myself 7,000 who have not bowed the knee to Baal. Matthew chapter 4, verses 8. Again, the devil taketh him up into an exceeding high mountain, and showeth him all the kingdoms of the world and the glory of them. 9. And saith unto him, all these things will I give thee, if thou wilt fall down and worship me. 10. Then saith Jesus unto him, get thee hence, Satan, for it is written, thou shalt worship the Lord thy God, and him only shalt thou serve. Most people take the deal with Baal to be famous. These beings are trapped in the fourth dimension. They can see the future up to a certain point in time. So, in exchange for their worship and service, Baal and his legions gives them gifts. Like the next lottery picks or the next big inventions, most people who join Baal become your rich and famous people in the world. They are the giants. In the Bible, when it says giants in those days, it refers to famous men or men of renown, essentially meaning powerful and influential individuals who were well known in their time, often associated with the concept of the Nephilim, which are described as being of great size and strength in the biblical text. The giants are not necessarily literal giants, but rather figures of great power and notoriety. This phrase comes from Genesis 6:4, which states, the Nephilim were on the earth in those days and also afterward, when the sons of God went in to the daughters of humans, who bore children to them. These were the heroes that were of old, warriors of renown. Scholars debate the exact meaning of Nephilim, but generally it is interpreted as referring to powerful, influential men who were known for their deeds, not necessarily their physical size. The passage is often interpreted as describing a time when the world was becoming increasingly corrupt, leading to the presence of these mighty men who were known for their power and influence. Baphomet worship is the practice of honoring the goat human figure Baphomet, who is associated with paganism, Satanism, and the occult. Baphomet is also a symbol of the Church of Satan, a non-theistic religious organization. The term Baphomet may have originated during the Crusades. In 1307, the Knights Templar were accused of heresy for worshipping Baphomet. In the 19th century, Freemasons were also accused of worshipping Baphomet. The Satanic Temple commissioned a Baphomet statue in 2015. The 19th century occultist Eliphas Levi's illustration of Baphomet, known as the sabbatical goat, is considered iconic. Baal, Adad, who is Baphomet. He is also the pagan god Pan, which was also observed by Aleister Crowley as well as Anton LaVey. Many pleasures revered before the advent of Christianity were condemned by the new religion. It required little changeover to transform the horns and cloven hooves of Pan into a most convincing devil. Pan was the Greek god of the wild shepherds and rustic music. He was depicted with the legs and horns of a goat and was often portrayed as a lustful figure. He was the chief of the satyrs, who were also half goats. Pan was associated with fertility and the season of spring. He was believed to lurk in caves, mountains, and other isolated locations. He was known to inflict his enemies with sudden terror called panic. Pan was often portrayed as a watchful shepherd who led his flocks from summer to winter pastures. He was also a hunter, the slayer of beasts. Pan was known to induce panic in humans and beasts. Pan was also known as a womanizer who had many lovers, including Echo and Syrinx. Pan's symbol was the pan flute, or syrinx, which he made from broken marsh reeds. He was also known to be amorous and to have close relationships with satyrs, whom he treated as his children. Pan left means to move a sound or image to the left side of the stereo field, while pan right means to move it to the right side, essentially adjusting the volume balance between the left and right speakers to create the perception of the sound coming from a specific direction. In music production, panning is commonly used to position different instruments within the stereo field, like placing a guitar on the left and a vocal in the center. In videography, pan left or pan right refers to the camera horizontally moving left or right while staying fixed on a single point. When you pan left, the volume of the sound is increased in the left speaker and decreased in the right speaker. The god pan is dealing with music hints. Why Baal, who is pan, control the music industry. He is the god of panic, which is a sudden uncontrollable fear or anxiety, often causing wildly unthinking behavior. The god of the pandemic, a widespread occurrence of an infectious disease over a whole country or the world at a particular time. Pan is a demon because, keep in mind, Baal, Enlil's son, was the Elohim in charge of creating all the plagues in the Old Testament, under orders of his father, Enlil. Pan is Peter Pan. He is a young boy who can fly and never grows up. Peter Pan lives on the island of Neverland with the Lost Boys and has adventures with fairies, pirates, and mermaids. Key here is Never Neverland and Lost Boys. Peter Pan is a villain who kidnaps children from their beds and takes them to Neverland where they never return home. Peter Pan kidnaps boys who fall out of their prams when the nurse isn't looking. If the boys aren't found within a week, Peter Pan sends them to Neverland, where he is their master. Peter Pan is the true villain of the story, while Captain Hook was the misunderstood hero. After all, in the original novel, Peter Pan was a much darker character than the less sociopathic version we saw in the Disney adaptation. The Lost Boys have forgotten who they once were. Peter Pan lives with a group of young boys called the Lost Boys. Peter Pan is well known for kidnapping children. He snatches them from their homes and families by promising them a home where they will never grow up. However, this is a lie. When they go to Neverland, Peter Pan begins to slowly drain the child's youthful spirits, which is their memories of their past, to the point that they've become mindless children who follow him without question. Once they've outlived their purposes, Peter discards them and finds more children to prey on. This youthful spirit goes to Peter so he can remain a boy forever. It's not a simply magical thing that comes for free, it's something that needs to be taken. One line from the book that perfectly sums up Peter Pan and what he does to the boys is that once they grow older, he thins them out, which means he kills them. This is proof that the children, besides Peter, do age regardless. The reason why the Lost Boys we see in the original novel are not killed yet is because they're probably more recent ones. There have been many more before, but once their youth memories had been drained by Peter, they were nothing but dry cows, so they grew up and were either killed by Peter or they escaped and became pirates. Now, you will begin to understand Jeffrey Epstein's island, Little St. James and Great St. James in the U.S. Virgin Islands, and the connection with Walt Disney and Nickelodeon. A man named Aleister Crowley, who was a Luciferian, who brought Baal worship into the Masonic Order. Aleister Crowley, born Edward Alexander Crowley, the 12th of October, 1875, the 1st of December, 1947, was an English occultist, ceremonial magician, poet, novelist, mountaineer, and painter. He founded the religion of Thelema, identifying himself as the prophet entrusted with guiding humanity. He was said to be the most evilest man that ever lived. Aleister Crowley used Baphomet as a symbol to represent his movement. Crowley believed that Baphomet was a divine androgyne. Crowley was a member of several occult organizations, including the Golden Dawn and the Ordo Templi Orientis. He is best known for his occult writings, including the Book of the Law, which is the central sacred text of Thelema. Crowley rejected the concepts of the biblical God and Satan, and instead followed Gnostic teachings. The Satanic Temple commissioned a statue of Baphomet in 2015, and then moved to various places as a protest against displays of Ten Commandments monuments in public spaces. Crowley gained widespread notoriety during his lifetime, being a drug user, a bisexual, and an individualist social critic. Crowley has remained a highly influential figure over Western esotericism and the counterculture of the 1960s, and he continues to be considered a prophet in Thelema. He is the subject of various biographies and academic studies. The German occultist Theodor Reuss, who started his own secret occult order called the Ordo Templi Orientis, OTO. Crowley convinced Reuss to join on with the Baphomet Worship. Reuss appointed Crowley as head of OTO's British branch, the Mysteria Mystica Maxima, MM, and at a ceremony in Berlin, Crowley adopted the magical name of Baphomet and was proclaimed ex degree Supreme Rex and Sovereign Grand Master General of Ireland, Iona, and all the Britons. The death of a young follower in Sicily, allegedly after participating in sacrilegious rituals, led to denunciations of Crowley in the British popular press as the wickedest man in the world, and to his expulsion from Italy in 1923. Crowley. With Reuss's permission, Crowley set about advertising the MM and rewriting many OTO rituals, which were then based largely on Freemasonry. His incorporation of Thelemite elements proved controversial in the group. Fascinated by OTO's emphasis on sex magic, Crowley devised a magical working based on butt sex and incorporated it into the syllabus for those OTO members who were initiated into the 11th degree. Crowley's influence on modern Satanism. It reveals that Crowley was considered as a Satanist during his lifetime. It then takes a look at the features of Crowley's esotericism that were adopted into contemporary Satanism. Also, Crowley's connection with modern witchcraft, Scientology, and Satanism, and determines that Crowley still influences Western spirituality. Thelema is a Western occult philosophy and religion that emphasizes personal freedom and discovering one's true purpose in life. Thelema was founded in the early 20th century by Aleister Crowley, an English writer, occultist, and ceremonial magician. Aleister Crowley ideas were incorporated into the Baphomet religion system. One of Hitler's favorite books was The Secret Doctrine by H.P.B. Also, among his books was one that Hitler often kept by his bedside, the occult standard The Secret Doctrine by Madame Helen P. Blavatsky. Overstand Hitler wanted to create his own superior race, and he was in contact with these beings from Aldebaran. They were channeling. Overstand that. You know, with Madame Blavatsky. Helena Blavatsky, née Helena Petrovna Hahn, born August 12, July 31st, Old Style, 1831, Yekaterinoslav, Ukraine, Russian Empire. She died May 8, 1891, in London, England. A Russian philosopher and author who co-founded the Theosophical Society in 1875. The Theosophical Society is the organizational body of Theosophy, an esoteric new religious movement. It was founded in New York City, U.S. in 1875. Among its founders were Helena Blavatsky, a Russian mystic and the principal thinker of the Theosophy movement, and Henry Steele Olcott, the Society's first president. She gained an international following as the leading theoretician of Theosophy, the esoteric movement known by the slogan, "There is no religion higher than truth." She believed that Satan was the god of our planet and the only God. She also thought that Lucifer was the Holy Ghost and Satan at one and the same time. Helena Blavatsky was teaching Theosophy all over the world. Adolf Hitler was a disciple of Madame Blavatsky. Madame Blavatsky was an Aldebaran who served her overlords, the Draco Reptilian. Madame Blavatsky also provided the hookers for Freemasons' party, where they performed ritual sex acts. She was connected with Sherlock Holmes. Sherlock Holmes was the writer name for this dude, but his real name is Joseph Bell, a surgeon at the Royal Infirmary of Edinburgh, whom Conan Doyle met in 1877 and had worked for as a clerk. Jack the Ripper followed Madame Blavatsky teachings. He was said to be her hitman. He was being controlled by her, which she was controlled by Satan himself, leader of the reptilians. Jack the Ripper, the infamous serial killer who terrorized London in the late 1800s. A forensic investigation published in Journal of Forensic Sciences has identified the killer, Jack the Ripper, as Aaron Kosminski, a 23-year-old Polish barber and prime suspect at the time, Joseph Bell, who is the real Sherlock Holmes, who was trying to find and capture Jack the Ripper. Aaron Kosminski. No one knew he was killing people. He would be cutting hair, being nice and laughing with people. Then at night, kill people for his master Satan. Doing Joseph Bell investigation on Aaron Kosminski, he found out that Aaron followed Madame Blavatsky teachings. Keep in mind, Madame Blavatsky was a real witch. She is the Wicked Witch of the East. Madame Blavatsky was also connected to Freemasons. Keep in mind, real witches and wizards joined the Masons. Joseph Bell found out that there is a deep connecting between Satan worship and the Freemason. Freemasonry was taught to Europeans in the 1700s by the Moors. The Moors, dark-skinned beings, taught them what they call Masonry. Madame Blavatsky was taught by El Moria, Azabugal, a Moor with the turban on, the one standing behind Madame Blavatsky. Thelema and Theosophy are both esoteric belief systems, and the work of Aleister Crowley, the founder of Thelema, was influenced by the Theosophical Society's diagrams. Madame Blavatsky had a crush on him, and he developed a soft spot for her. She loved Nubian, Muur, dark-skinned brothers. Keep in mind, this woman was a freak. El Moria, Saint Germain, and Kuthumi were mulatto, meaning mixed Moors. Similarly, the term mulatto in Spanish, commonly refers to a mixed-race ancestry that includes white European mixed Moors, black African roots. Across Latin America, these are the two terms most commonly used to describe people of mixed-race background. At the time, the Europeans Freemasons didn't have any magic or secrets. Madame Blavatsky began teaching European Freemasons what she had learned from the Moor, El Moria. What they're calling Kabbalah today is connected. Madame is really a term used for a title or form of address used of or to a French-speaking woman. Also used as a title for women in artistic or exotic occupations, hooker, such as musicians or fortune tellers. Madame Blavatsky was using all of these terms. This was the Moor that taught them. Ascended Master El Morya is a master of the first ray. The first ray is the blue, red, and silver ray of El will and power. Ascended Master El Morya is a stern master. He is nearly always appearing without a smile, but to look into his eyes is to see love on a deep level. He is one of the main masters of these times, here to assist in these times of ascension. He represents the energy of the leader, courage, power, self-reliance, dependability, faith, and initiative. He is also a very precise and meticulous master. In past lives, he is Melchior, the third elder on the Council of 24 Elder. Keep in mind, Azabughel has two sides, a good side and a bad side. The bad side chose to teach these lower-level beings about the superpowers, which they called magic. Melchior is the good side. Azabughel incarnated as El Morya in the 1800s. He and the 15th Elder, Raziel, is in charge of the magic department. Melchior was one of the three wise men. His codename is R19 today. A lot of this might go over y'all heads. El Morya is an extraterrestrial being. He showed me his past life as the second son of Abraham Isaac. In that life, he had dark skin and piercing brown eyes with woolly hair. Ascended Master El Morya has an aura of mostly blue, with some darker blue at the edge, as seen here at the right. He is always seen in a turban. El Morya sometimes wears a sapphire surrounded by black diamonds in his turban. He wears a white robe or a dark blue robe that can appear as black. Sometimes he appears in all white in his Melchior's form. Madame Blavatsky religion has its root in Satan worship, which is Baal, Adad. Madame Blavatsky belief in Satan worship was later incorporated into the Baphomet worship system. Anton Szandor LaVey, born Howard Stanton LaVey, April 11, 1930, October 29, 1997, was an American author, musician, and LaVeyan Satanist. He was the founder of the Church of Satan, the philosophy of LaVeyan Satanism, and the concept of Satanism. Anton LaVey, the founder of the Church of Satan, used Baphomet as an icon and symbol in his satanic practices. LaVey's version of Baphomet incorporated an inverted pentagram with the Hebrew word Leviathan. How did LaVey use Baphomet? Sigil of Baphomet. LaVey's version of the symbol was used on membership cards, stationery, and medallions. It also appeared on the cover of the Satanic Mass album in 1968 and the Satanic Bible in 1969. LaVeyan Satanists use Baphomet as a symbol of duality, fertility, and the powers of darkness. How did LaVey get the image of Baphomet? LaVey adapted the image from a pictorial history of magic and the supernatural by Maurice Bessy, a collection of illustrations and photographs describing magic and supernatural occurrences throughout history. This book features over 300 pictures and illustrations with multiple pictures on every page with descriptions, and the scope that it covers is amazing. From alchemy to wizardry, this book covers it all. Very collectible. LaVey drew the symbol and attributed it to Hugo Zorilla, a pseudonym he used for some of his art. The sigil of Baphomet is a sigil of the material world, representing carnality and earthly principles. The depiction of an inverted pentagram with a goat's head paired with 5 Hebrew letters at the pentagram points. The Hebrew letters spell out Leviathan, Leviathan, the ancient serpent from the biblical Chaos Kampf, while the 1897 symbol is further augmented by the text Samael and Lilith. With the pentagram inverted, matter is ruling over spirit, a condition associated with evil. In his book, G.O.A.T also illustrates an upright pentagram with the pentagrammaton, HVH, at the vertices of the pentagram. An esoteric version of the Hebrew name of Jesus, Yeshua, YSHV, by adding the letter Shin, SH, in the middle of the tetragrammaton divine name Yod He Vav He, YHVH. Citation needed: the lower 4 points represented the 4 elements of the material world, while the uppermost point represented spirit ruling over matter. As influenced by the 19th century French occultist Eliphas LaVey, an inverted pentagram represents materiality, while an upright pentagram accordingly symbolizes holiness. This symbol was found at the altar at the Black House. The Black House was a building that formerly stood at 6114 California Street in San Francisco, California, in the United States. The house was used by Anton LaVey as the headquarters of his Church of Satan from 1966 until his death in 1997. It was a few blocks from the edge of the Presidio of San Francisco near the middle of the Richmond district. Keep in mind LaVey dealing with the Leviathan priesthood. Anton adds more to the rituals of the Baphomet religious system after his idol Aleister Crowley. The Baphomet has many followers. A lot of your well-known celebrities, government people, doctors, lawyers, millionaires, billionaires, and movie stars are a part of this secret order. They steal, collect the children, just like the original mission of the Lord God Baal, who is a dad. There's a lot of different perspectives in this. Some people look at it as not being an evil thing. The people that are a part of it make connections with powerful people. They consider themselves to be the elite, the masters of the masses. From our perspective, Baal, a dad who become known as Baphomet, is a bad guy and a real live demon. Those who work with him will get a chance to be with him in hell. Baphomet was a demon lord who ruled a layer of the abyss called the Endless Maze. He was the prince of beasts, an embodiment of savagery and an insidious force that wormed its way into the heart of his followers to deceive them into embracing brutality. Baal said, "We are all beasts and only delusion prevents you from seeing the truth." Baphomet appeared as a great 20-foot-tall, 6.1-meter black-furred minotaur with 6 iron horns. A fiendish light burned in his red eyes. Baphomet's realm was the Endless Maze, the 600th layer of the abyss, supposedly infinite in size. Here, Baphomet dwelt in his palace, the Lichtion, and spent his time creating various new demonic breeds in his infamous Tower of Science. Some of his more successful creations were the Goristroi, the Bulazaus, the Guers, and the Feral Ankashars. Baphomet had a multitude of minotaur and humanoid followers and minions. He was also served by Bulazau and by Gaur demons, a race of demons resembling burly, hairless minotaurs that commanded troops of these mortal minions. He sought to use them to further his schemes, notably to gain the upper hand in his battles against Jesus. A multitude of other twisted creatures revered Baphomet as well, some becoming his thralls, and if they pleased their bestial patron, they would be granted rulership of a portion of the Endless Maze. Those who failed Baphomet were devoured, naturally. Baphomet granted spells as a lesser deity, and had as his symbol a twisted circular maze awash in blood. Baal said, "Yes, I have fallen. I fell to the sunless and cinder-choked land below and was stripped of my boons of agriculture, but I gained more in exchange. I could say, teach you an alternative to a thermonuclear weapon that doesn't bathe the blast site with radiation or teach you the true solution to reversing the warming of the air of the mortal world. But I require a gift in return. Choose what you desire wisely, mortal." Baal is ranked as the first of the Ars Goetia and principal king of hell, ruling over the east along with being the head of the infernal powers. Baal is the first of the 72 spirits of King Solomon and governs 66 to 250 legions of demons and spirits. While his Semitic predecessor was depicted as a man or a bull, the demon Baal was in grimoire tradition said to appear in the forms of a man, cat, toad, or combinations thereof, with the appearance of a king or soldier, or with the heads of the 3 creatures onto a set of spider legs. He is able to make his conjurer invisible. Baal was amongst the order of high angels that joined the ranks of Lucifer during the war in heaven, only to be cast out alongside his fallen cohorts into the abyss, which was then formed into and established as hell. His activities in heaven were unknown, but according to the Zohar, Baal was equal in rank to the archangel Raphael. After the governing system was set, Baal became a Duke of Hell, with 66 legions of demons under his command. Baal was originally prominent 7 kings of hell, before being overtaken by Belial. In the Livre des Esprits, Baal is described as a king ruled by Orient, still possessing the power of invisibility as well as the power to garner the favor of others, but ruling over only 6 legions of demons. Sloan MS 3824 mentions Baal in Of the Demon Rulers as a king ruled by Orient, attributed with teaching science, granting invisibility, and controlling 250 legions of spirits. Baal appears in later editions of the Grimoire of Pope Honorius, under Astaroth, as a prince whose powers include, again, invisibility and popularity. According to Rudd, Baal is opposed by the Shamamphorash angel Vehuya. It is also believed in the Grand Grimoire that he is a direct subordinate of Lucifer. He was an agricultural and fertility deity of Canaan. Many minor deities of ancient Syria and Persia carried the name Baal, which means the Lord. According to the Canaanites, Baal was the son of El, the high god of Canaan. He was the Lord of life and ruled the death-rebirth cycle. He engaged in a battle with Mot, death, and was slain and sent to the underworld. The crops withered until Baal's sister Anat, the maiden goddess of love, found his body and gave it proper burial. The Canaanites worshipped Baal by sacrificing children by burning. Sloan MS 3824 mentions Baal in Of the Demon Rulers as a king ruled by Orion, attributed with teaching science, granting invisibility, and controlling 250 legions of spirits. According to Francis Barrett, he has the power to make those who invoke him invisible, and to some other demonologists his power is stronger in October. According to some sources, he can make people wise, speaks with a hoarse voice, and carries ashes in his pocket, along with necromancy.